So it's been 8 months, huh? Alright, I guess we're doing this. So today I kind of wanted to talk about one of my favorite series, probably of all time at this point, Jujutsu Kaisen. Specifically, if Nobara is dead or going to die. And I guess I'll break this off early. Probably not going to die. So, the first reason I want to lay out for you, the easiest one, Mahito is not at full power when he attacks her, right? This is because obviously he's fatigued from his fight with Yuji. He was taking really good damage off of him, and he's maintaining a clone while he's performing this attack on her. So let's keep that in mind moving forward. The second reason is basically that she is extremely durable. We see this throughout the entire series. We see this when she stabs herself for her resonance technique, right? This is going to be helpful for one of the big reasons that somebody can die from this kind of injury, right? So this kind of takes care of what's called shock. People go into shock from trauma injuries like this all the time. It's one of the ways people can die. So one, her being this durable definitely helps, because a normal person would probably go into shock after they stab themselves several times through the wrist, mid-fight. Adrenaline or not, you're probably going down after that. So that's going to be helpful, and that's one of the main ways she can die. The second main way, though, is blood loss. Obviously, if your eyeball gets exploded out of your face, there's going to be some blood loss, some pretty major stuff going there. This is actually taken care of by the healer, Nita, who finds her alive, mind you, and basically works on her wounds. The way his power is described is that he can stop wounds from getting worse, kind of make sure that they are stopped in their tracks, which is great. The blood loss is stopped, likely the pain is stopped. I think he actually does that as well, meaning even less chance of shock, number one, but number two, the blood loss can't kill her either. So the two main ways that she could die are kind of taken off the table, right? And just as a side note, Mahito, despite being such a cocky character, he seems to imply that he's unsure of whether he can one-shot Nobara with this move or not, which isn't surprising. She's not weak by any means, and he is fatigued, like I said. He's not at full power. So, in his character, this very cocky, very good gauge of power, historically, is questioning whether he can do it or not. I do want to take that into consideration, and that kind of adds to what I'm saying here. Speaking of taking things into consideration, I think the narrative point of view on this is actually important as well. So Nita, after he heals her, tells Yuji there's a non-zero chance of her surviving. This is important because I think this is foreshadowing from Gege, and I already hear it now. All right, if you wanna throw the he's an unconventional author argument at me, well, that's totally fine. I just don't think it holds the water that you think it does, right? So let's look at another unconventional author in a similar situation. The author of AOT wrote Annie to basically make this promise to her father figure that she'd survive Paradise and find him, and throughout the story, he makes it look like she's going to die or he's going to die, and she talks about, I guess I'm not going to fulfill that promise. Obviously, at the end of the series, she does. They both survive, and she gets to survive everything and meet her father figure. Nobara does something similar. She says, I'm not going to fulfill this promise to my sister because I'm going to die right here. It's classic manga trope. So him going against that and having her live through this would actually be him going against the grain in that way. And that's why I don't think that argument really helps the position that you're going to take if you think she's going to die, right? Now, the other part to this, when we're talking about the author, is that he seems to have a habit of wanting to complete his characters, their power development and their character arcs, before he writes them off. We even see this with Toji, with his interactions with Megumi. And out of the main three, obviously Nobara, Yuji, and Megumi, she has the least development out of all three of them. So to get rid of her at this point wouldn't really be his style. It wouldn't be consistent with what we've seen from him up to this point. So I think we should also keep that in mind. At the end of the day, when you look at this narratively, it makes more sense that she lives. And to look at the injury itself, this looks mostly cosmetic. If we look at it, aside from her eye, it's mostly damage to her cheek, right? And not even enough to break the cheekbone the way she's drawn. Definitely not enough to break her skull, and therefore probably not enough to jar her brain enough to cause hemorrhaging, bruising, and basically the other way she could die, right? There's no skull fragments in her brain killing her. She's not, losing blood in her brain or anything like that. And even if she was, she probably would have died before Nita got there. So again, more evidence that she's probably going to survive this. I mean, UFC fighters, IRL, survive more trauma than what's being drawn here in these panels. Even when they lose eyes, look at Michael Bisping. He lost an eye. He's taken crazy head trauma over his career, and he's totally fine. Clearly he's alive, but he's even a commentator right now. So it strikes me as weird to think that this ultra-durable Jujutsu sorcerer would die from less damage than IRL UFC fighters. That sounds crazy to me. So, all that being said, that's why she's probably going to live through this. We're going to see more of Nobara. It just makes more sense. It's more consistent with how this man writes. So, yeah. I mean, if you like Kaisen content, drop a like, maybe a comment. If you don't like it, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably going to do it again. So, I'm sorry to tell you. But yeah, other than that, guys, be safe. Take it easy.